Hi Megan. So for the first video, I was trying to think of a good question, and all the ones I could think of sounded a lot like the cheesy icebreaker questions they ask everyone to answer at camp. I don't know if you've ever been to camp or not, but they're pretty lame. And so I was thinking about those, and I realized that there's one of those questions that I always thought was actually a good question. It's just answered wrong most of the time. And that question is, if you could have dinner with one person, living or dead, who would it be? I always thought that was a good question because the answer can tell you a lot about the person who you're asking it to, and it could be interesting. I don't know. I think it's a good question. But every single person who I've met who answered this question uses one of these three responses.
I'd like to meet my grandmother because she died when I was little.
That's sad and all, but it doesn't tell me much about you.
I'd like to meet
Hot celebrity guy name here.
because he's so sexy.
But what would you guys talk about?
I would meet, I don't know, Martin Luther King or Abraham Lincoln because they're cool.
I'm like, ugh. So, I've laid down some ground rules for the answer to this question. 1, they cannot be American. They have to be, they could have moved to America, but they have to be natively not American. That doesn't make sense. They have to be born in a different country. Rule 2, you can't have met them before or have any sort of relation to them. Rule 3, and this is an addition onto the question itself, what would you guys talk about? So, if you could have dinner with one person, one foreign person, living or dead, who you've never met, who would it be, and what would you talk about? I have 3 answers. 1, Elvis Costello, who's not American, he is British, which is pretty cool, because Britain is cool and stuff. You like Harry Potter, you know. And we would discuss his lyrics because they're beautiful and wonderful and amazing, and I could have 1,000 lyrics that I could pull out of my head and be like, what made you write this? What was the inspiration? What does this really cryptic sentence mean? What were you thinking about when you're all these annoying fangirl questions, stuff like that. 2, Nikola Tesla, who is Serbian, I believe. I should Google that. I'm pretty sure he's Serbian. I don't know, it's been a while, but he is just crazy cool. Like, if you've never read anything about Nikola Tesla, you should Google him, because he's the bomb diggity. For one, he had visions that helped him, like, invent things. He had a perfect, like, God, he was an inventor. He, could picture the invention in his mind perfectly and in perfect detail, and then create it. He didn't have to do, write out any blueprints or make a prototype. He just think of it and then make it. It's the coolest thing, and he'd do all the revising and changing and alterations in his head. Ah, so cool. There's a lot of interesting things about him. You should really look him up. But Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison were mortal enemies, and there's a whole feud there that happened. It's so interesting. Can't handle the interesting. Number 3. Anyone from ancient Greece, honestly. I love ancient Greece. You know how much I love mythology. I'm just obsessed with ancient Greece. And I would probably just go to ancient Greece in my time machine that I totally have, pull some dude off the street, take him to modern time USA, bring him to a Greek restaurant or maybe a non-Greek restaurant so he can get a taste for other culture, but the ancient Greeks really didn't like the non-Greeks. In fact, that's where the word barbarian comes from. It literally translates to person who does not speak Greek. Anyway, tangent. I would just pull him over and ask him what it's like living in Greece, what his relationship with the gods were like, because that's my big nerd thing, is the mythology and the Greek gods. Just what it's like there. I just think living in ancient Greece would be really interesting. Talking to an ancient Greek, anyone, it doesn't matter. Some dude named, I don't know, some Greek name. Whatever. Anyway, so that's my question. I want to know, and those are my answers, and I want to know if you could have dinner with one foreign person who you've never met, dead or alive, who would it be, and what would you guys talk about? Alright, I will see you later, Megan.